In this blessed month of Ramadan, I hope that Allah Azza wa Jalla is giving you the strength, the faith, and I'm very glad to be with you again today to talk about another episode of seizing Ramadan as an opportunity for change. Seizing the opportunity of Ramadan to introduce that much needed change into our lives. Last week, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, for those who have listened to us, for those who haven't had the opportunity, then maybe you can go back into the recording of the previous session. Last week, we talked about setting up high objectives in life and aiming high for your life. And this is on both the spiritual side, on both the ibadah, on both the relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, on both aspects of preparing for the hereafter, as well as achieving success in this worldly life. The two are not contradictory, and we have talked about that already. We mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet, peace be upon him, he wanted the Muslim, he wanted every believer from his community to be strong on all aspects of his life, to be strong in his relationship with his Lord, to be strong in his relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, in his ibadah, in his act of worship, in his adherence to his religion. But at the same time, he wanted us to be strong in this worldly life, to achieve high statuses in this worldly life, to make our lives a success on all aspects. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned the hadith, and I have narrated it last week, which is the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Al-mu'minu al-qawi khayrun wa ahabbu ila Allah min al-mu'min al-da'if wa fi kulli khayr." That the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that the strong believer is dearer and more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than the weak believer. And in both of them, there is goodness. So in both the believers, there is goodness. However, the Prophet ﷺ is indicating clearly that the strong believer is dearer, is more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than the weak believer. Today, we are going to carry on actually talking about roughly the same topic, which is how to set up those high objectives in life. That was our topic of last week. And today we are going to focus on something which is going to be the enabler to help us achieve those objectives. Because setting up objectives and having high dreams in life without putting anything into practice, without working hard towards achieving that, is just a vain statement. You can be, my dear brother, you can have huge aspirations for your life. You can have huge motivations for your life. Yet, if you don't put the right ingredients in place, you're not going to be successful in it. And as I'm mentioning this, I just remembered the statement of somebody who says that yesterday I was clever. I wanted to change the word. Today I am clever. I'm smart, and I'm trying to change myself. So, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, today we are going to talk about one of these ingredients to make us successful in achieving high objectives in life. This ingredient, and probably is the most important of the ingredients, is the perspective on time, is the time. How do we spend our time? What do we fill it with? How do we spend every single minute of our days? How are we doing when it comes to achieving high objectives within the amount of time that we have? We know that everybody has exactly the same amount of time of the day. We all have 24 hours. Yet, some, they will make the most of it and they will be very successful. With others, they are not, and unfortunately, they are just wasting their time. So today, I wanted, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, to talk to you about changing your perspective on time and be actually happy and be proud of your record when your record in the hereafter is going to be given to you. Everybody, as you know, in the hereafter is going to be given his record. That book that records everything that we have done in our lives, how we have filled every single minute of our lives, every single second. Everything is recorded to the tiniest of details. And I want to ask you, actually, before we start talking about motivators or about things that will make you change your perspective on time, will you really be proud, my dear brother and my dear sister, when you are going to receive your records in the day of the hereafter? Will you be proud when you are going to be given your book and you are going to be told, اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا? Read your book. You are going to be your own judge today. Will you be proud, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, when Allah Azza wa Jalla, He gives you your record and you are your own judge, and you see within that record all of those hours that you have wasted, that you have not really filled with goodness, be it goodness to be successful in this worldly life, or be it goodness to be successful in the hereafter. Will you really be proud of every single minute that is recorded in it, or will you have some regrets? And that day, as you know, the regret isn't going to at that day, the regret isn't going to be of any help. So let me start by asking you, when it comes to the topic of time, let me start by asking you a question that I wanted you sincerely to answer. You don't need to tell me the answer. I'm not going to be your own judge, and you are going to be your own judge in the hereafter. I'm not going to be the judge for the answer, no matter how you answer the question. I just wanted really you to answer it inwardly, so that you know and you can evaluate yourself better than anybody else. Let me just start in by asking everybody. If we ask now today, we just stop anyone on the road and we say, what is the most important blessing that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us after Islam? And the answer of the majority is going to be, that the most important blessing, unfortunately, most of us are going to answer about something that is related actually to money, or that is related actually to a wealth, or to some material aspects of this worldly life. Some actually might have a different answer. For some, the answer might be different than this, and they might actually answer that that it's actually the health. This is not wrong, actually. Health is one of the most important blessings that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us after Islam. However, the true answer to this question comes in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he mentioned that نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. Wallahi, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, for those who have answered that actually that's actually wealth or fortune or material aspects of this worldly life is really the most important blessing after Islam. This is actually not the case. This is wrong, actually. You can have whatever blessing Allah Azza wa Jalla wanted to give you in terms of material aspects of this worldly life, yet you are not really living a life of happiness. You are not living a life of goodness. You are just and it might be actually it might really not be the thing that makes you successful in this life. What really truly makes you successful in this life is how you spend every single minute of it, how you use your health to achieve those high objectives that you have set, that you would have set last week. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in hadith, نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. There are two blessings in which many people incur loss: health and free time. I want to draw your attention to something that is actually very important. Well, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He makes an oath in the Quran. If you open the Quran and you start reading, especially towards those last surah of the Quran, in which Allah Azza wa Jalla has started them with a lot of oaths, you will see that actually most of that is actually related and is linked somehow to the time. For example, take the Surah Duha. How does it start? It starts with وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى, by the morning brightness and by the night when it darkened. If you take another surah, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, by the time, verily, man is in loss. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى, Allah Azza wa Jal, when he starts Surah Al-Layl, he mentioned by the night when it enveloped. Allah Azza wa Jal only makes an oath actually by that which is important. For us, human being, for us servants of Allah Azza wa Jal, we can only make an oath by Allah Azza wa Jal. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that من أقسم بغير الله فقد أشرك, that the one who makes an oath by anything other than Allah Azza wa Jal, he has made association with Allah Azza wa Jal. So we as servants of Allah Azza wa Jal, we as servants of Allah Azza wa Jal, and as members of the community of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we were guided not to make an oath by anything else other than by Allah Azza wa Jal. However, Allah Azza wa Jal, He can make an oath by whatever He wants. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. Allah Azza wa Jal is not to be questioned about what He does, and yet we are to be questioned. Allah Azza wa Jal, He has created us and He has created everything, and He has chosen to make an oath by that which is the most important of His creation, and it is actually the time. Uh, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for instance, he said that اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس شبابك قبل هرمك وصحتك قبل سقمك وغناك قبل فقرك وفراغك قبل شغلك وحياتك قبل موتك. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith, he's advising us to actually take advantage of 5 before 5, to try and seize the opportunity to make the most of our lives, to take advantage of 5, which are, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, your youth before old age, because in that young age you have the energy, you have the time, you have less responsibility compared to when you are going to be older, and all of that are good elements to really be successful in your life, are good elements to really be and to achieve huge objectives in your life. And that's why you see that a lot of our predecessors, when I come to it inshallah ta'ala at some point later in this talk, that a lot of our predecessors actually have achieved, they made huge achievements. They were very young actually. So that's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is advising us to take advantage of our youth before our old age. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's saying, take advantage of your health before your sickness. Sickness, you might, my dear brother and my dear sister, alhamdulillah, be preserved, and I hope that Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to preserve you throughout the rest of your life from any sickness. But what you need to know, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, is that you need to take advantage of every single moment in which you are healthy, because you don't know when life is going to turn differently. You don't know when the life is going to turn otherwise. So the Prophet ﷺ is advising us to take every single minute of our lives and to take advantage of that before sickness. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, take advantage of your wealth before your poverty, your free time before you are occupied. And this is actually what I wanted to focus on, which is taking advantage of the free time. A lot of brothers and a lot of sisters, when they have free time, they will tend to postpone that which is important to later. They will either have an idea about, oh, actually I have free time, let me just relax for now, and then I will do that which is important later. You need to know that later will never come. Later is only the moment in which you are living. You cannot guarantee your life until tomorrow. How can you guarantee your life even until like few minutes from now? You cannot guarantee your life for even like few seconds. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَارِدِ. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He talks about how we see our life and how Allah Azza wa Jalla sees it. It's two different perspectives. Allah Azza wa Jalla, what he said is that إِنَّهُمْ يَرَوْنَهُ بَعِيدًا. They see it far. وَنَرَاهُ قَرِيبًا. And we see it close. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, you can see that the Prophet ﷺ is really encouraging us how to take advantage of these 5, which is our youth before our old age and our health before our sickness, because we don't know when these blessings are going to be taken away from us. We hope, and I hope that all of my listeners, all my dear brothers and sisters who are listening to me today, who are going to be preserved from having any sickness. But the way Allah Azza wa Jalla has created life, it's such that some of us are going to experience that and some of us are going to experience poverty. Life is changing. We cannot really guarantee how our life is going to be tomorrow. So take advantage of that before tomorrow then. Take advantage of every single minute you have today. Don't say, actually, I'm going to postpone this high objective. I'm going to postpone this high achievement that I want to achieve until later, because later is just a misconception that will never come. Later, you have no guarantee, my dear brother and my dear sister, that you are going to be given the time and enough energy to achieve all of that which you want to achieve in your life. Prophet ﷺ in another hadith, and soon after mentioning this hadith, I will draw your attention to something. But first, let's hear to the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned. Prophet ﷺ, he said, بَادِرُوا بِالْأَعْمَالِ سَبْعًا. This hadith actually goes along the same lines of the previous hadith, in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, take advantage of 5 before 5. Here, the Prophet ﷺ, he's saying, بَادِرُوا بِالْأَعْمَالِ سَبْعًا, which is take advantage or rush to perform righteous deeds before 7-fold. The Prophet ﷺ, then he started listing some of those, which is هَلْ تَنْتَظِرُونَ إِلَّا فَقْرًا مُنْسِيًا. Are you waiting for poverty blocking your way, or for wealth leading you astray, or for an illness that's corrupting you. So you can see that the Prophet ﷺ in both these hadiths is mentioning roughly the same thing that can come along the way of someone and stop his dream, stop his motivations, stop his aspirations. So you don't have any guarantee about what's going to take place in the future. The only guarantee that you have, my dear brother and my dear sister, is the moment, the present moment that you can make a change of. And so if you want to truly take advantage of your life, you want to truly achieve things in your life, then you have to achieve them now. The moment you say and the moment you promise to yourself that you are going to do it later, you have no guarantee that later is going to take place. And this is a misconception that makes a lot of brothers actually delay what they want to achieve in their lives on the hope that one day they will wake up and then they achieve it, and that actually doesn't take place. I mentioned before, narrating the second hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that I wanted to do your attention after mentioning the second hadith to something which is important. And the thing that I wanted to do your attention to is the way the Prophet ﷺ, he formulated his statement. Prophet ﷺ, if you look into both of these hadith, the first one, بادروا بالأعمال اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس. The first one is seize 5 before 5. The second one is بادروا بالأعمال سبعا, rush to perform righteous deeds before sevenfold. What you can notice, my dear brothers, from these is that they start exactly with the same thing, which is rush. Seize the opportunity. Don't let the opportunity go, and don't wait for later. If you are waiting for some conditions to be met in order for you to achieve that high objective in life, to achieve that high aspiration that you always had, those conditions might never be met. I hear some brothers and some sisters sometimes saying that later on, when I become a better person, I'm going to pray. My dear brother, you pray now. And it is actually the prayer that's going to make you a better person. So actually the equation should be the other way around. Pray to be better. Not I am waiting to be better to pray. Take advantage of every single minute that you have in your life, because that is your capital that you have in this life. If you ask anyone what is our capital in life, it's actually our minutes, our single breaths that we have in our life. Our life is nothing else but by these. But these things that I've just mentioned, you can count your life in years, then you can count those in months, and then you can count it in days and then minutes, and then at the end of the day, you will see that you have a capital of certain amount of certain amount of minutes that you are spending on this worldly life, and you have to fill all of that with goodness before meeting with your Lord. And something that I want even to draw your attention to is that not only the Prophet ﷺ, when he talks about take advantage of 7 or rush, seize the opportunity, not only the Prophet ﷺ is using this statement that carries a sense of urgency, that carries a sense of rushing. Allah Azza wa Jal, he uses similar expressions when he talks in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal, what he said, سارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم. Hasten to forgiveness from your Lord. Allah Azza wa Jal, in another verse, what he said, سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم. Race towards forgiveness from your Lord and the garden. وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض. How do you race to this Jannah? How do you compete with others to achieve the highest place of the Jannah? Is by filling every single minute of your life with goodness. In these two verses, Allah Azza wa Jal has used exactly the same thing as the Prophet ﷺ has used, which is hasan, which is race, which is try to take advantage of every single moment that's being present to you right now, and don't postpone that until later, because you have no guarantee that later is going to happen, is going to take place. On the day of the hereafter, we are going to be asked about many things, right? And amongst the first things to be asked about is the time. Among the things that you will have to give account for, my dear brother, is how you have spent your time. In the day of the hereafter, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا تزول قدم عبد حتى يسأل عن عمره فيما أفناه وعن علمه فيما فعل وعن ماله من أين اكتسبه وفيما أنفقه وعن جسمه فيما أبلاه. The Prophet ﷺ, he's warning us that Man's feet will not move on the day of the resurrection before he's asked about his life, how he consumed it, before he's asked about every single minute of his life. How did he spend it? How are you spending your time, my dear brother, my dear sister? Will you have an answer for every single second that you are spending? When Allah Azza wa Jal gives your record, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that وَمَا مِنْكُم مِّنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا وَسَيُكَلِّمُهُ رَبُّهُ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ حِجَابٌ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that everyone from you is going to be speaking to his Lord without hijab, without veil. And how are you going to justify all of those moments that you are spending unnecessarily talking about things that have no value? All of those minutes that are going in vain. How are you going to give the account for all of this time that was given to you? That is a blessing, that is the most important blessing after Islam. And all of the blessings that you are being given, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, you will have to give account for them. Why? Because it's a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal, and you will have to give account for every single blessing that Allah Azza wa Jal has given you. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's saying, لا تزول قدم عبد حتى يسأل عن عمره فيما أفناه وعن علمه فيما فعل به. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he said is that the first thing that he is asked. So you can look into the order in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned these things, and the order is that عن عمره فيما أفناه, his life, how did he consume it? Prophet ﷺ has guided us to really spend our time carefully, and to really be careful with how we live our lives, and to be prepared to give accounts in the day of the hereafter. I will just give one example from the life of the companions, those who have truly understood these statements from the Prophet ﷺ. Those who have truly understood the urgency and the importance of spending and taking advantage of every single minute of life. I'm just going to start with one companion, and then depending on how much time we have left, we might cover some other examples. There is a companion who is called Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Some of the listeners might know his story, but maybe most they won't. And what I want to draw your attention to is that when Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, he died, the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal trembled. اهتز لموته عرش الرحمن. When Sa'd ibn Mu'adh actually, when Sa'd ibn Mu'adh died, he was only 37 years old. Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, when he reverted to Islam, he was 30 years old. So Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, he didn't spend in Islam more than 7 years. Yet, when he died, the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal has trembled. Yet when he died, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, اهتز لموته عرش الرحمن. How has he spent his life really to deserve this place? How has he spent every single minute of his life to really achieve this high status in which the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal trembles, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said when Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, he died. He spent just 7 years in Islam. Just think about it. We have spent probably most of us, including myself, many more years actually in Islam than this. Yet, when Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, he died, those 7 years were enough, because he has filled them with such goodness, because he has filled every single minute of those 7 years with goodness that made the throne of Allah to tremble when he died. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ardah. So we don't have the time actually to cover any other examples. But there are other examples actually that are very impactful, because some might argue that this is actually the generation of the companion. Not only that, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, even from the generations that came later after the companion, they have taken advantage. Those who have seriously took their lives seriously, and took advantage of every single minute of their lives, they have achieved high things in their lives. So I'm just going to finish with the dua, just because of the time of the adhan that is coming close. صلى الله عز وجل أن يحفظنا وإياكم. اللهم يا رب العالمين أكرم الأكرمين أصلح أحوالنا في الأمور كلها. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل، ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. اللهم يا رب العالمين إن رمضان قد كاد ينقضي. اللهم إن النصف من رمضان قد مضى وولى، ولا ندري أكنا فيه من عتقائك من النار، فاللهم اعتق رقابنا يا رب العالمين من النار. اللهم اعتق رقابنا ورقاب آبائنا أمهاتنا من النار، ورقاب من أحببناهم فيك ومن أحبونا فيك من النار. اللهم أصلح أحوالنا في الأمور كلها. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة مع الأبرار. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تسقينا هنيئة مريئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة يا رب العالمين مع الأبرار. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تجمع شمل الأمة. اللهم وحد كلمة على الإخلاص والتقوى والهدى وعلى طاعتك يا رب العالمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا. اللهم يا رب العالمين اجعلنا نغتنم هذا الشهر المبارك الطيب. نسأل الله العظيم رب العرش العظيم. Many brothers, thank you very much. الله عز وجل to make us successful in the remaining days of the month
كان
of
رسول
Ramadan.
الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أفطر قال: ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم would say when he would break his fast, the thirst has gone and the veins have become moist and the reward has become established inshallah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته.
O Allah, Lord of this perfect call and everlasting prayer, grant Muhammad, peace be upon him, the wasila and the greatness, and raise him to that praised position which you have promised him.
The IFTAR show is brought to you by Mercy to Humanity. Feed a family this Ramadan for only £30 for the month. That's right, that's only £1 per day. Donate now. www.mercytohumanity.org.uk
Hello, Zafar.
Hello. Right. Headphones
Sorry,
on.
man. I got a bit over.
Can you hear me?
Yep.